What does therapy look like to you? To me, it's not about going somewhere and talking. It's about thinking, observing, recording, questioning, and composing. Every idea and struggle or dilemma we can have becomes complicated the longer we hold on to it. And one thing that's always been easier for me is writing. So let's talk about my favorite form of therapy. So the first question I asked in this video is, what does therapy look like to you? So let's get a definition first. And depending on where you go, therapy means a treatment that helps someone feel better, grow stronger, especially after a difficulty or illness. I like that one the most. I think when most people think about therapy, it's more about being able to go to a nice cozy place and sit down in an office somewhere or a sofa, and they have a therapist sitting on their side, someone's talking to them, and while they're in there, they just ramble, they talk, they share things, and then when time's up, time's up. And for some people, that version of therapy does work well. I can't knock it. But for others, not so much. And then you also have the people who try to offload that therapeutic responsibility onto their friends or their partner or their spouse, even the coworkers. Believe it or not. Whatever way it works for you, man, go for it. But sometimes those methods don't work as well, and they aren't as accessible to most people. So writing has been a great way to introduce another option for me personally. Now, the way I look at it, everybody doesn't solve their problems by talking. Some do it by action. Others do it by expression, through art, through music, painting, walking, whatever it is. And then you have others who do it by finding a direction or a purpose. And I believe I fall more so in the expression category. I'm always trying to walk and paint a picture of what I want things to be like. I've always been a big fan of drawing or, basically putting my thoughts onto paper, almost like another tool in the toolbox. So from my decision making to my preparation with my projects to overcoming some of my lowest times in my personal life, or even simple things like keeping me on track when it comes to my ideas or just grocery shopping, things like that. It's amazing what writing and journaling has done for my life. And it's not just about writing about your day. I think one of the big misconceptions about journaling is that it's like writing a diary, or you're supposed to keep track of every single thing that you do. It's not like that at all. It could be, but in my case, it's more of an organizational thing, a reflective tool. I'm not worried about hyperproductivity or being super detailed about everything. But whenever I'm in a bind or struggling to make decisions or just to remember things, I simply open up my notes app, take an idea, jot it down, leave bullet points, write things, anything that's really bothering me. And a lot of times when you leave things in your head for too long, it can allow your emotions to play a factor too. No, how do I feel is one question, but what do I really think is another. I honestly believe that many people would be saved from bad decisions if they took the time to understand their surrounding circumstances. And I've really come to realize that cleaning out my mind allows me to get the negative ideas out there, or the bad ideas, or the negative beliefs, the doubts about myself. And actually, especially when it comes to just creating content, it's been a big thing for me because I'm always thinking about, okay, what am I doing wrong? Or how can I improve on this? But I should be sometimes focusing on what am I doing right? And how can I, build upon that? Certain things sound good in theory, but in practice, it doesn't really work out that way. And the thing about journaling is that it also works great for remembering my highlights. As a creator, especially in the beginning, I really struggled with remembering my best ideas. I would sit there thinking of all these great things I was going to put out there, all this content I was going to cover. And then when it came down to it, I just never did it. And you know why? Because there was no timeline. There was no map, no roadmap. There was no skeleton there. I didn't know where I was at or where I was going. And you might be that kind of person too, who's more abstract in nature and needs more direction. And you know what? You can't always expect for somebody to point you in the right direction. You got to sort it out for yourself. And I'm telling you, man, write down your ideas. At the very least, you have a starting point. And I guess it wouldn't be sufficient enough to talk about how I capture my highlights without highlighting the struggles too. When I'm feeling down, anxious, confused, disappointed, I ask myself, why am I feeling this way? It's honestly amazing what you can do when you get down to the root cause of your struggles. Imposter syndrome and self-doubt, again, were two things I mentioned earlier, but man, I've had that for years. And just building a document or building a page where I write down all the things I can reference, it allows me to keep going even when I feel like holding myself back. I don't know about you, but I've always been a long-winded thinker. And honestly, it wasn't until I started writing until I realized how bad or good I am at it. Like, I can take the most basic point and go on and on and on about it. It's actually gotten to the point where it's annoying because there's always something else to add. So one of my biggest goals, actually, for now in the future, is to go from a long-winded thinker to more of a super surgically precise thinker. And I'm talking like explain like I'm 5 level. I just think that my thought process sometimes is way too sophisticated than what's necessary. So by giving myself more room to elaborate on things, it makes it easier to understand myself as a whole. At the end of the day, simplicity is what I want to capture. And don't take my word for it, man. Just try it for yourself. Because the truth of the matter is, our habits are what make us whole. Even if you don't want to sit down and write, just jot things down real quick. Things that you come across throughout the day, things that you experience, quick ideas that come across you, things that make you think about something else. Whatever it is, just write it down. Sometimes it's the little things that make a huge difference. And we're at the end of the road here, y'all. So if you enjoyed this one, make sure y'all subscribe to my newsletter. I share similar thoughts like this and things I feel like can really help you guys going forward. And I guess that's it. Follow me on my socials at Monoqor and subscribe for more.